He was funny and charismatic, and one thing I remember liking about him a lot, which I respect because I'm not as good at it, is he would talk to everyone in the ward and just, I mean, that was part of his job, right? People would come in that he didn't know and he would like make friends with them really fast.
I think I like to go hiking, and I guess I remember specifically, I don't know how old when I did this because it all kind of blurs into one kind of past because it's a long time ago, but just remembering going sledding in the snow, usually not in California, and just having a good time, and you know, probably like me and Nathaniel, I think used to like tag team go with my dad since we were the youngest. That was always pretty fun. And then it would just be me and Nathaniel, but that was pretty fun. I do remember one time he really wanted me to go down a hill, and I didn't want to, and then finally he persuaded me to do it, and then it was like everybody was going at once, and then mine kind of turned sideways, and then he ran over me with the sled, and I was fine, but I was offended, you know. Good times. Anyway, that's probably the main thing I can remember. We also watched movies and stuff like that, but I can't really remember very much.
I liked watching TV shows with my dad. That was like our thing. We watched American Idol together. We watched The Bachelor sometimes together. The show called Journeyman. We just watched. That was like our thing. Father-daughter TV shows like almost every night. Just loved watching TV shows together.
I would say there's two main things I used to do with my dad I used to really appreciate. I loved how much he would like to sit down with us and just talk about whatever was going on. It could be about girls, scriptures, it could be about anything that came to mind. The other nice thing was going hiking with my dad. Something he was very passionate about, something we could just enjoy together, go out, camp under the stars, and just relax in the nature. It was something I really do miss.
Oh, we went and took care of the duplex pretty often, so that was kind of fun. I mean, we just did a lot of yard work and stuff, but I got paid to do that, so maybe that was why I wanted to do that. I hung out at the office a lot, and yeah, besides that, we mostly just went hiking a lot. We planned trips, and well, he spent a lot of time planning the trips, and then he was going to tell me about all the updates as we went along for a few weeks, and then we'd go on the hike and we'd take care of everything. So I just tagged along. It was fun. But one of the most memorable ones was probably right before my mission. We went and hiked Mount Baldy, and the reason it was memorable is because the whole time we were talking about me going on a mission, and how excited that he was that I was going on a mission. So that's probably the one that stands out the most, I guess, at this time. I mean, we have lots of scary stories and fun hikes and stuff, but that's probably what stands out the most.
I would probably say that the thing that I like to do the most was to go on family trips and to go visit him at the office. Because when he wasn't busy, then he would just sit and chat with me.
Well, first off, he's a funny dancer. Whenever he dances, everyone just kind of be like, "Yeah, Dad, you do your dancing. It's good stuff." And sometimes I find myself doing it too, the way he dances. But
I remember him making jokes. Probably jokes that I didn't get because I was too young to get them. I know he liked to dance with my mom, and sometimes would be a good dancer. Kind of for fun, but it was when Jessica had Lincoln, and then when he was watching Lincoln, and then he just gave him like a sucker, and he's like, a couple weeks old. I don't think you're supposed to do that, but he was just like, what are you gonna do about it? I'm the grandpa. That was pretty fun. I always remember that when I was a kid, whenever I wanted ice cream, if I asked my mom and she would say no because I already had ice cream that day or week or whatever.
if I asked my dad, he would always say, yeah, let's go get some ice cream, and then we'd go, and he'd get some too, of course. It was, I just always remember that. I don't know why that's like one of the things I remember the best, but it's just that I could always go to him if I wanted some ice cream. So.
He was a goofy dancer. He wasn't necessarily the most coordinated dancer, but my mom taught him to have that passion and that love for dancing, and he loved dancing. He would get up in this dance where he would, what we called the wobble, where he'd kind of just wobble back and forth as he would jam out to his music.
He did so many random things that I just found hilarious. One of my favorite memories of him was when Tiffany made this Utah cake that she was supposed to make for her presentation, and so she had it built like Utah, so like a square with a little chunk out of it, right? And so he walks in the morning, sees this cake that's been finished with a chunk coming out, thinks, oh, somebody's already eaten this, and so he cuts the top off to make it square so it looks better, and then he just eats it out of nothing. And Tiffany comes by freaking out that this piece, that what happened to my Utah cake? And he's like, oh, I thought somebody had already started it, so I just wanted to finish it. I wanted to cap it off, make it all square. And he do stuff like that all the time. Little things where he's like, thinks that it's okay, and then he'd do it and think, oh, well, oops, I thought it'd be fine.
So he'd eat toast in the middle of the night. That was pretty regular. He'd have us run out and get the newspaper in the morning because he was just in his garments, right? And sometimes he would still go out in his garments to get a newspaper. And he'd just look around and hope nobody's looking. And what else funny did he do? He watched Spanish shows all the time because he claimed it was how he could learn Spanish. So watching Spanish TV, it didn't work. On Father's Day and his birthday, Mom would just give him stuff that he already bought. And he'd be like, he'd just try and act surprised. But you could always tell he was faking it because he wasn't good at faking it. So, yeah.
He used to follow my mom around and talk about all his ideas, and I always thought that was funny because even as she was going from room to room doing chores, he would like follow her and tell all his ideas. I mean, I don't know. I liked it when he would dress up. You know, he was good at acting out in those lip syncs and things like that. He liked putting on a show, and I always thought that was funny as a kid.
The good things I remember about him were very, what's the word, respectable. He was a good man. He cared about his family and was always there in like family time, right? He was always there, playing games with us or there on the side with my mom. And although he could be stern sometimes, because usually a lot of the time he talked to me, I was doing something he didn't want me to do. But he did show interest in what I was doing sometimes, actually. He helped me build this furnace. Yeah, surprising, yeah. He didn't like me playing with fire, but he helped me build a brick furnace and be, like would use it to burn wood and then like melt metal, like aluminum. Yeah, it'd get that hot and then we'd take it and we could pour it out. I mean, that was around the time he died though, so the metal melting was after he passed away, but I remember he had me add it into my into a talk I gave in church. He told me to put it in there about something. I can't remember the connection, but I love him because he was always there, you know. He was a good dad. I mean, he was around and liked to joke around with us kids. I mean, I can't even remember like what he joked around with because you know, I don't know. It's hard to remember, but I do remember he loved to go make family outings an important thing, you know, doing that every year or so. I
now being a parent, I look back on that, I see all the effort that he put into good experiences as a family, and just trying to, have some bonding experience with our family, and of course hiking. I mean, I loved hiking, he loved hiking, but I felt like he put the effort into to make it a family experience, even though like now, like going camping with kids is just a pain. But he made it seem like it was just the way of life, I guess. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of things, but the main things I can remember is just that he loved being a dad. So.
He was such a good example to me and all my siblings, and he loved my mom, and he was a great worthy priesthood holder, especially towards the end as he served in the bishopric. There was that light within him as he studied the gospel and as he fulfilled those priesthood callings. He was just such a wonderful example of hard work, dedication, and love.
I think my dad had a very special place in my heart. He was always there for you no matter what the discussion was. I still remember when I was really struggling spiritually, and this was about a year or so, or 6 months to a year before my mission, and I sat down with him and just started asking him some questions to kind of try to figure out where I was standing spiritually and what I could do. And he just, no judgment, just talked to me about it. And then when I was really struggling about something, he took me aside and actually just sat down and talked to me about it. Just tried to be as loving as possible, and really he was the best example of a father that I knew. I mean, granted, there's plenty of things that I'm sure wouldn't be the best example, but that alone was great.
I guess the only thing I can say is he holds a special place in my heart. It's about the only way I can explain it. So I don't know what else to say besides that.
I always felt like my dad was there for us. Like, he was a good provider, and he loved my mom. And even though they had some communication flaws, I do feel like it was still like a good intention. I do feel like, looking back, we were sheltered, but in a good way that kept us innocent. And my dad always defended us, like I feel like he heard our side of the story, and I mean, I still feel like that. And I love that he loved the gospel. I love that he loved reading a lot of church books, and like he loved going dancing with my mom. So cute. I think even after he passed away, it made me happy for him, actually, because he was like learning all these cool things that he had been researching and reading about, because he just loved learning. And I really, really appreciated his love of learning.
Well, I know he's a good hiker. I remember he wasn't the fastest hiker, but like at first we'd start out pretty similar speed, and then eventually we would all tire and sit down, and he would just walk right past us, and just hike and hike. He could go for hours, days maybe, even just constant walking up the mountain. He's also good at making friends. Definitely had more friends than most people I know, and good at talking. He's a good talker, like my grandpa Ashcraft. Kind of wish I could talk to him nowadays, because back then I didn't like to talk about politics or anything else. He's good at dancing. Well, the funny dancing is a different thing. I mean, he's good at being funny, but like ballroom dancing, right, with my mom. He was good at dancing, I think. I don't know, I was a kid, but it seemed like he was good, so.
he was also good at fixing stuff. I mean, he made the tree house in the backyard. That was pretty. Yeah, so he was really good at making things. Like, he seemed to be a really good handyman. I don't remember ever like hiring other people to do stuff, you know. So it seemed like he was pretty good at most things. Good dancing. I mean, he made a rock, like a climbing wall, that only broke in half when Nathaniel and Andrew jumped and broke it in half or something. I don't remember what they did, but anyway, it seemed pretty sturdy most of the time. I'd say the thing I think I admired the most was that he was really outgoing. He seemed to have it, you know, he could talk to people and they really liked him, and you know, he knew people from my school that I didn't even know, you know. So I think I admired how friendly and how social he was. I remember him commenting about how me and Nathaniel were really quiet. It was like surprising to him, I guess. But yeah, he had no problem being outgoing. I mean, he worked really hard for his hiking, you know, talking to people in Lone Pine and talking about the different trails that they'd go up, and you know, he seemed to enjoy that a lot. So I'd say it seemed like he was really good at that as well, making trails for hiking and thinking things through. So.
He was a very handy man. He made the treehouse for us when we were kids, and he would get stuff fixed up around the house if it needed to, and he was just very good at figuring things out on his own.
I think my dad was good at remembering people. If there was anything that I remember anybody talking about, is that no matter how much time had been gone from the last time he saw somebody, he could bring up the last conversation they were talking about. He could talk to them about the last jokes they were talking about, the things that mattered to them at the time. So like, we would visit our cousins, and I remember this one joke that my cousin told. My dad instantly recalled it as being the funniest joke he had ever heard, which was, what happens when you walk into Bill Clinton's office? You'll step into a booby trap. And I remember my dad loved the fact that my little cousin, who was maybe 8 or 9 at the time, told him that joke, which was absolutely inappropriate for his age. And my dad absolutely loved it and thought it was such a funny thing that he was the one that told that joke. This little tiny thing. Or I remember sitting in my dad's office, and he'd have patients come in. They only come in, you know, once every either 6 months or a year, and they'd come in the office like, oh hey, your son was going to be graduating right before last time we saw. How's he doing? What school did he go to? And he could pull back memories from a year to 6 months to a year before from one of the patients he had amongst the hundreds of patients he had in the meantime from them. And he just would always remember and value the time he spent with people. So that was quite an amazing quality that I don't have.
Yeah, he was very good at planning and planning trips and planning hikes, and he was a good optometrist. There's a lot of friends. I knew a lot of people who would, whenever I met people who knew my dad, they would say, oh, he's an amazing optometrist, and we flew in from this state to go and visit him, or we drive all the way across LA, just even though we moved, they still drive all the way back just to go to him because he was a good optometrist, and he was fun and funny, and he cared a lot about his patients. And you know, Harold was the smart, nerdy one, and my dad was the sociable one. So, and he was good at road shows and stuff. Well, he wasn't shy at all about goofing off, and something the quality I definitely do not have.
I feel like he was one of the best examples of, well, when I was growing up, he was one of the best examples of just a friendly person, regardless of circumstance. He never judged anybody. He was always very friendly, and went out of his way to find those cousins and things that were kind of sitting on the outs. And really, makes me want to do better because he was so good at it. I think that he was good at planning. I mean, planning all the trips, planning all the hiking adventures. I think that he was really good at making intentional effort on holidays. And I say this because Justin doesn't really do that much because it wasn't as big of a deal in his family. So I realize now how much of an effort it actually took for my dad to really put forth an effort on all those holidays.
Like I said, I admire that he's really good at making friends and talking to people. Gosh, my mind's running blank again. He's always working. I mean, when he wasn't working, he was watching movies or something. But when he'd get home from work, or the day he didn't work, sorry. There's a day of the week, I think it was Thursday, he didn't work, but he would spend the whole day building something in the backyard, something like that. And so yeah, he's a hard worker and like to talk to people. Like I said, I admire that he's really good at making friends and talking to people. Gosh, my mind's running blank again. He's always working. I mean, when he wasn't working, he was watching movies or something. But when he'd get home from work, or the day he didn't work, sorry. There's a day of the week, I think it was Thursday, he didn't work, but he would spend the whole day building something in the backyard, something like that. And so yeah, he's a hard worker and like to talk to people.
I admire that he seemed like he was always trying to have a good time, you know. I don't remember him being, you know, just being down or anything. I felt like he tried to, you know, yeah, he tried to make things lively and fun. And yeah, I admire that he was really outgoing, that he, you know, that a lot of people liked him because he was himself around them, you know. Yeah.
He always saw things through. Whenever he had anything in mind, he didn't just do a little bit and then give up on it. He was very dedicated and very passionate and he was just very dedicated, and he always finished what he started.
I think something I admired about him was when he would talk to people, he would no judgment zone. There's something that Lola and I say all the time. This is a no judgment zone. When we talk to our cousins or our nieces or nephews, no judgment zone. My dad, he personified that. When he would talk to you, he would talk to you as anybody. If you were struggling, didn't matter what you're struggling with, he would be there for you. The heart that he had was quite astonishing. To care for anybody who came in front of him, to be there for them, and to just provide support. I mean, sure, there was plenty of, you know, Peter priesthood things that he would do, but when it came to talking to people, you'd never know that he ever judged anybody, because he really didn't judge them. He would support them, no matter what kind of spiritually, no matter where they were spiritually.
I guess the focus he's put on his kids. So I knew he would rarely come to my volleyball games and such, but he still came sometimes, and sometimes he'd come to games that were halfway across LA. But he'd show up, and that was surprising because he's supposed to be at work. But he would put in the names of Swedish patients into his calendar that weren't real patients. That way they would be booked out, so it looked like he had appointments, so they wouldn't put appointments there. But then when that time slot came up, he would just leave and come to the game. Right? He was the boss, so you know he could do whatever he wanted. But it's still funny. But yeah, so yeah, and so you know he built a tree house, and he you know, there's a time where I was really into skateboarding, and I was like, it'd be so cool to have a half pipe. And he's like, okay, let's build a half pipe. And then we built a half pipe. So he was really into working around the house and doing stuff for family and kids and fixing stuff up himself, which is probably why nowadays when something breaks, I usually fix it, rather than like calling the landlord or something.
One, what I said, his relationship with people, I admired that he had an easygoing outlook on life. One time he cut his own hair, and he accidentally forgot to put the number one, like the lowest setting on the razor before he shaved the back of his head. And so he had a big strip, like bald strip in the back. And he was like, that's real close. So he stopped and he just left the one strip. Like he didn't shave the rest to match it. And I remember he joked about it he was conducting that week, and he stood up there and he turned around and he showed everybody his bald strip. And I just love that he could laugh at life, because life, you just do your best trying to get through it. You take care of your family, you be true to your covenants. I love that he was so diligent at going to the temple and putting forth an effort to just do the best that he could as a dad. I mean, and I feel like when he did learn true principles, then he took hold of them, which I feel like I sort of try to take after that too. And so yeah, when I think about my dad, and honestly, I feel happiness for him, and because I bet he's having a fun time up there. And I think that he probably feels bad for us down here because we have to suffer through mortality. But in the end, it'll be a blip of time, and if we can make it back to live with Heavenly Father, then it will all work itself out in the end.